I was about to snap reading these comments. I was really about to go off. And what I'm talking about is this is in direct relationship to the last video that I just posted. Highlighting the commentary of Chronic. Now, this is a problem that arises all the time. In my opinion, I think black people are way more aware and more knowledgeable than these, I don't know what you want to call them, blue collar working white men. You guys are literally your own worst enemy. And it's all rooted in racism, white supremacy, and superiority complexes. Now, if you can't handle that, you feel free to, exit the video. But I'm gonna break this shit down because, like I said, I was about to go off, and then I had to calm down and recognize that I'm talking to a number of people, and it's not all the people in Undead Comments comment section. Many of them went right to where the conversation needs to go, which is the money. But then you got these other idiots in the comment section that come with that typical white boy, conservative think tank bullshit that has nothing to do with what the topic of the conversation is, and they think that their talking points are the root of the economic problem that we're talking about discussing, when we bring up men working, wages, all that stuff. And this is what has kicked off pretty much every race riot in America, because the corporations have always maintained the same position. As I've talked about before, if it was up to them, they would have children working in factories. White men had to fight for child labor laws. White men had to fight for 40-hour work weeks. White men had to fight for full medical and dental. These white elite folks ain't giving you shit. Now, we can talk about the boomers and their selfish asses, but y'all got to check your own community, and you don't get it, and you fall for the okey doke every time, and every conversation is the great replacement, and you get mad at the minority people that are second class citizens that are literally trying to do the same thing that you're trying to do, which is have a decent quality of life and raise their families and so on and so forth. But you get mad at them. You don't get mad at the people at the top that look like you. And this is the whole problem with white supremacy, and why I think that the white proletariat will always stay pretty much where they are. And it's just cyclical. The concessions are made. They get mad, after a while, and they, will have a riot, tear some shit up, and then concessions, another, round of concessions will be made. And that'll last a good 20 years, right? And then the next generation will be born, and then no concessions will be made until that generation gets upset. And the parents, the same people talking about, my bootstraps, that are frustrated at the boomers throwing that up. I guarantee you that when they're 60, they'll be saying the same dumb shit to their kids. Well, my bootstraps, again, if there's another, revolution, which I think is coming. So, like I said, I had to remind myself that I'm talking to the same population of people who are descendant of those folks that thought it would be wise to fight to help keep other people's slaves. I mean, imagine being a white man in the South in, 1856. Hey, my name is Jebediah, and I'm looking for a job. No, sorry, we don't need you. I got a black slave blacksmith over there. Oh, hello, my name is Jebediah. I'm looking for a job. Nope, sorry, I already got some slaves doing that. I'm good. Hello, sir. My name is Jebediah, and perhaps I can help you with some services. Nope, sorry, got a slave for that too. Don't need you. Sorry, go off and do something else. I don't know what you're gonna do, but I already got slaves for that. Then the Civil War breaks out, and what does Jebediah do? I can't. We gotta maintain white supremacy. We gotta keep these. It is the South's right to have slaves. I'm like, nigga, weren't you just looking for a job? They don't need to hire you if they got slaves. Stupid. You know what I mean? And these will be the same idiots that'll run around reenacting the freaking the Civil War and reenacting the Confederacy and shit like that. I'm like, you don't make any sense. But let white men tell it, y'all, they're superior intellect and all this other shit. Nonsense. But anyway, fast forwarding, and this goes back to the CRT conversation. It's not just CRT. Some of you all are really dumb because you don't know history. I don't know where you went to school. You're sitting on YouTube, you're writing in comment sections. There's documentaries literally all over the fucking place on YouTube to get all the history that you never got in school. All the shit that you didn't even know happened. But do you all take the time to even go over there? Fuck no. Fuck no. Y'all don't even take the time to go over there. I'm going to give you some homework. Let's talk about labor. Let's talk about the Homestead Massacre. Look that one up with the Pinkertons. You know, Pinkerton Security Company? Yeah, they're the descendants of that shit. The Homestead Act. Look up the Latimer Massacre. Or not the Homestead Act, the Homestead Massacre. Homestead Act was, all that go take the Louisiana Purchase shit. The Homestead Massacre. The Latimer Massacre with 2 T's, I believe. The Ludlow Massacre out there in Colorado. Look that one up. And then you have the Memorial Day Massacre, which was actually caught on camera where police shot into the crowd of white men who were on strike and bitching about wages. And then many of the race riots in Chicago and Springfield, Illinois, and all these other places, had to do with the race riot. Oh, they bringing in these blacks from the South to undermine our pay, because black people during the Great Migration essentially were, and even, they were basically, today's Mexicans. And so working class white men, had an issue with that. And this is the whole issue of why, black men do not support white men in this endeavor. This is really their fight. We can support them symbolically, I guess, but do not support them because at the root of it, they always think that not only are they superior to you, they think that they're better than you. And when we get down to the money, their argument is always going to be, well, I should be making this money because they magically assume that they have more knowledge than you or more skills. They do the same thing black women do. You try to get them to talk about, whatever, educated, lames, on points, black men, whatever, and they want to immediately go to Ray Ray and Pookie. They always want to go to the lowest denominator black man to try to justify we're better than you. Black women do the same thing as white men. It's crazy, I know, because black women are supposed to be our female counterpart, but black women literally do the same thing as these white boys. They think that they're better. They think that they're always supposed to be ahead of you. And whenever we get to the money and the wages and all that shit, the conversation, turns into I should be making more than you. Not, this is so that everybody has a better quality of life. Because even saying the word everybody is, that's communism. The other thing is, here, I'll even read the comment. I'll show you the type of bullshit I'm talking about, just so you know I'm not making this shit up. Okay, photos. Where are we at? So this guy, Jack Knights of Black Revue. I don't know. I guess that's French. I don't know. Revue. Is that how you say it? Review. Anyway, His comment has 177 likes. His comment says, I refuse to take blame for a society that values the weak and stupid. The weak and stupid. Right? So you already know, for black people who know how to speak, white people, um, we already know what that's insinuating. Right? Oh, yeah, because it's the wokety woke left and the minorities and all, and we got hard working, good qualified white. And they're always qualified by default. White men are they're always the standard. I'm like, who are you talking about? But anyway, the next comment underneath that, these are people responding to that main comment. I refuse to take blame for a society that values the weak and the stupid. And the next comment is Warlord, and he says, yes, correct. Quota hiring. Quota hiring. So now we're somehow talking about affirmative action. Affirmative action. I played the video with the pilots, right? Pilots. People flying 50,000 feet in the air at 527 miles an hour. You know what's funny about pilots? Let me just say this about pilots. It always fascinated me about pilots, right? Because there's a parallel between pilots and healthcare workers. Because like people think it's so cute to take pictures of nurses and doctors when they're all passed out, and residents and shit like that. They're all passed out, right? And then the hospitals are like, we got to reduce malpractice. And I'm like, well, maybe if people were getting more sleep, maybe they wouldn't have given, grandma, a first generation antihistamine, which is going to make her loopy as hell, right? Maybe if people weren't sleepy, they wouldn't be fucking up like that, right? But everybody thinks it's so cute. You go Google it right now. Type in sleeping physician, sleeping resident, sleeping medical student, sleeping. And they're working so hard. They love their career. Oh, they have such a passion. And they do this bullshit in healthcare. You must have the passion. You must have a passion for medicine, a passion for healthcare. Right? And that way they can justify not paying you because physicians have horrible unions. The nurses shit is better than the physicians. That's a whole nother conversation. But why my shit closed? But what was I gonna say? Hold on. But they always think that shit is cute. But would it be cute if you saw pilots, sleeping in the airport terminal? You know? Oh, yeah. I'm the pilot of your plane. Oh, yeah. We're gonna fly this 10-hour flight. Just let me get some sleep right here on this bed. That wouldn't be cute. And I've always said that a pilot's job to me is way more important than a physician's job. Why do I say that? Because if a physician fucks up, he only kills one person or injures one person or does bodily harm to one person. But if a pilot fucks up, like what that video was showing, with the where they were, the main big airlines were outsourcing to these smaller airlines where the pilots, instead of having 1,600 hours of flight time, they would have like 500 hours of flight time and be promoted to captain. And then the big airlines would pay those pilots significantly less than what they pay their own pilots. I mean, even now, like even with jobs, you notice if you apply for a job online, right? It typically goes through a recruiter. Like there's no place that does direct hire anymore. Right? That's cutting costs. That's why they're going through the temp agencies, and they don't want to take on full-time employees and then full medical and dental and all that other. They don't want to deal with that. They let the temp agencies deal with that. All of this is about cutting cost. And so, what was I about to say about the pilots? The whole importance of that video and using the pilots is because what people will typically try to do is, if you use any other field, like if that video was about people working at Walmart not being paid enough, guaranteed there'd be a whole bunch of people in the comment section talking about, well, they're just Walmart workers. They're just Walmart workers. But it's not so easy to do that when you're dealing with pilots. See, when you go to the skilled people, when you go to the people that, we consider, we say, hey, they have skills. Like, none of us know how to fly a plane, right? It's a lot harder to dismiss them. It's a lot harder to dismiss Captain Sully, who spoke before Congress and talked about pilots' wages when he landed a plane in the Hudson River. No casualties. No one's ever done that, right? Because he couldn't find a place to land the plane. It's a lot harder to dismiss Captain Sully than it is to dismiss somebody working at Walmart. And so that's the importance of using pilots. And that I got directly from Captain Solo. Because we've witnessed that over the years, to $10 an hour, like people throw that shit up. Here, that's what they deserve. They don't have any skills, blah, blah, blah. Fuck if they have a family or not, or who they have to take care of. Right? This is the societal contradiction. What I'm going to get into in a second, which I already touched on with the Candace Owens bullshit. You cannot be pro-corporation and pro-family and pro-Christianity, which is attached to being pro-family, because the corporations and families are diametrically opposed. Why are they diametrically opposed? Because corporations are always trying to cut cost. And the primary way to cut cost is to decrease wages, which reduces that father figure or whoever's working's quality of life, and that overall quality of life of that family will decline. And then this is where the religion comes in, where the people try, throw up religion, and they say, oh, well, despite the poverty, despite not having this and that, and despite, you having to go without, you should still behave and act as though you still have resources. Right? And they put it all underneath all that Christianity bubble. What is morally right? What is just? You got the sweet twinkle of Jesus in your eye. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. Right? They throw that up there. And what's funny is, I made a joke to Cap earlier about that. I was like, it's like the goddamn Titanic when Sir Andrew says, freaking, that's 5 compartments. You know what I mean? And the captain of the ship comes in and says, well, what about the pumps? The pumps only buy you time. In other words, if you're talking about nuclear families, right? If you're talking about nuclear families, and let's say that nuclear families are the Titanic, if there's no wages that support that family, that's 5 compartments. I don't care how you want to dice it up. And if you throw in Jesus to try to prevent crime, you trying to, they needed the church and guidance and everything. That's no different than what Sir Andrew said about the pumps. The pumps only buy you time, minutes at best. Literally, that is the situation, that we're faced with here. And so anybody running around talking about how they're a good, moral, prudent Christian, and that they believe in the sanctity of nuclear families with a moral Christian framework, and then they did like Candace and started talking about Starbucks and fast food wages, and they don't want to talk about gainful employment, and they say they're anti-union and they're pro-corporation, understand that is a direct contradiction. The relationship between corporations and unions is always hostile. Always hostile. The relationship between employees and corporations is always hostile because the corporation's primary objective is to increase their bottom line. And the way that you increase your bottom line is to cut wages. That's the primary way that they do it. They have other ways of doing it, but that's the primary way of doing it. Cut wages and cut benefits. I cannot express that enough. So continuing with this bullshit ass comment section, yes, you are correct. Quota hiring. I don't even know how we got all the way over to quota hiring. The fact of the matter is they do not want to pay you. Next comment is from T. Gat. He says, we really need to go back to rewarding strength and intelligence. See, again, this more of this white superiority bullshit. The idea, see, we're at the top. You know, we know more than everybody else. We're not only strong, we're intelligent. That has nothing to do with the conversation that freaking Undead Chronic was addressing with Dave Ramsey or against Dave Ramsey. It has nothing to do with the video that you saw in the pilot video. Intelligence and strength, the man literally said they want to eliminate high cost employees, which would be the ones that have all of the knowledge and expertise. Knowledge and expertise cost money. And if they can get somebody else to do the job, that's what they do. I mean, they do that in the goddamn hospital. You know, like jobs that cardiologists used to do. No, they don't do those anymore. You know, they go and get the mid-level to go in there and give the echocardiogram. See, because they're paying the mid-level less money than they pay a cardiologist to look at the same thing and do the same procedure. Because he went to medical school for 4 years and did residency for another 5 years. He did all that shit. And see, the hospital's like, oh my God, there's money out the door. Oh, what do? We don't want to. Okay, get the mid-levels to do it. Right? Go get somebody. Get them trained that we only want them to do just this job. Be an expert at just this. That's all we want you to know. That's all we want you to do, and we'll pay you, $75,000 a year to do that. Because we don't want to have to pay the cardiologist, $325,000, $485,000 to do the same thing. No. We will have him do some other stuff that is only absolutely necessary to his knowledge and expertise. You see? And that's how they cut cost. But this guy, we really need to go back to rewarding strength. And is that what you think this is about? This is about the fact that they don't want to fucking pay you, dumbass. That's what this is about. This is not about rewarding. See, and that's where white people, they go into all this bullshit. They go into all this fairy tale bullshit about whiteness and what whiteness means and all these ancient fucking values that nobody fucking subscribes to. Nobody ever did. It was all smoke screen and mirrors for the working class white folks, so that y'all feel good about yourselves and have a positive male identity about yourselves. But the fat cats at the top, they ain't never gave a fuck about that shit. That was just for you to be pacified. And y'all fall for this shit. That's why I'm saying these white boys are fucking. It's like these conversations waste of time because they're in their own way. And real talk, with black people being us being a minority, we live in this predominantly white country. There ain't really much that we can do. Shit is only going to change when the white people, who are the 75% of the population, when they get sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's when shit is going to change. But the primary issue of even supporting any of these white boys when it comes to the shit is because we're not going to go out there and support you and be your cheerleader and back you up. And then when everything stabilizes and you overthrow the evil oligarchs and whatnot, then it turns back into, oh, well, you niggas get to the back of the bus. Thanks for your services. Get to the back of the bus. Yeah, fuck you on that shit. The next comment, post-feminist society, you mean? This is by Dark Rebel. So we've already got 2 people that basically brought up race. 3 people that brought up race. Now we got another person, and all this is coded, obviously, because of YouTube. Now we got a person bringing up post-feminist society, you mean? Post-feminist society. They're not paying you because of race or Black Lives Matter. They're not paying you because of the wokey left. They're not paying you because of fucking feminism. They're not paying you because they're trying to increase their bottom line, you fuck. You dimwit. That's why they're not paying you. See why I was getting upset earlier? See why? And then I asked the question, who is weak and stupid? Right? And the person responds, I got to move forward. Where is this at? Where's his response? Where's his response? Why is his response not here? Anyway, the guy insult. Oh, here it is. If you are asking, you are no better than a liberal. So bam, now we're into politics. I'm like, this has, again, they're not paying you because of Black Lives Matter. They're not paying you because of feminism. They're not paying you because of the wokey woke left. They're not paying you because I'm no better than a liberal. They're not paying you because they're trying to minimize expenses and increase profits. That's why they don't want to pay you. That's why you can't get your life started, because you can't afford that house, because you're, as Andrew Tate would say, you're a brokey, and brokies don't get the bitches. And that's why your ass is single and why you're not getting married. Not because Jordan Peterson jumps up there and says, well, y'all should be getting married. Or because Dave Ramsey said, y'all should go out here and get married. And they have no like, I want you to think about the audacity of somebody doing that. And what's so funny is all of this is literally the same thing that black people have been trying to tell you. That's why Dave Chappelle went up there with his recent skit and on, what was that, SNL, or was that like his own skit show? I forget. But anyway, where he was like, what did he say? No, that was SNL. Where he was like, white men are running around talking about, I can't feed my family. And it's like, we've been on that shit. We've been on that shit. And it's like, and y'all don't get it. Y'all don't say it again. We talk about this with the opioid epidemic. When it was the crack era, it was lock niggas up, no compassion, nothing. Now that it's the opioid epidemic, we're supposed to have compassion, understanding, and treatment at centers. And y'all don't see how frustrating that is for black people to sit there and watch you all switch up. Literally watch the double standard and witness it in real time. Y'all don't get that. We've been on this shit. We've been the canaries in the coal mine. We've been had double-digit unemployment. And only when it hits you, does it matter? Does it matter? And this is why I'm saying, I'm like, y'all, this is y'all fight. This is y'all fight. Because if we follow the pattern of white male behavior, it's the same every time with the same outcome. Y'all think that you're better than us. You think that you always making more money than us, right? You want to ignore the fact that the black communities are broken and busted and dilapidated because you don't have gainfully employed men. The freaking people like Dave Ramsey and even Jordan Peterson, for that matter, they're using the same tired ass shit that they use against black people. You all get caught in your own web. They use the same fucking rhetoric. You believe that shit to the fullest. Again, that's why the white male deletion rate is so high. The white male auto deletion. That's why that shit is so fucking high. Because they back you into a corner with personal responsibility when is personal responsibility a thing? If you have one person who's disciplined and one person is not, are they going to have different outcomes? Yes. But it's like, goddamn, how far do you want to take that shit? When you got people literally saying, well, we're going to cut 10,000 employees this month. No amount of your personal responsibility is going to change the fact that decision was already made. It's just like that video. I'll put that in the description box. It's a video about Cabela's and how they closed Cabela's down in this town, and the whole town, just like the guy went in and they did that whole shit where they're like, oh, basically like the same thing that they try to do with what the hell was it? GameStop. You know what I mean? But nobody caught it. So they did the shit. I hate getting interrupted. Right when I'm flowing, I get interrupted. But anyway, um, I was talking about Cabela's, and I'll put the link in the description box. I don't feel like getting into all the technicalities of that, but they basically try to do, from what I recall, the same thing that they try to do to GameStop, go in there and then buy it up, and then basically screwing over the people that are dependent on that, because it's all about enriching oneself. Um, what's funny is I think the guy's name, just like the Roger Cohen of the airport, guy's name was Cohen as well. But anyway, it's just like y'all just cannot get out of your own way. You all cannot get out of your. It's the same shit. They use the same damn talking points. And even listening to Dead Chronic talking about, oh, you back them into a corner and these boomers, they think that people aren't going to resort to crime. I'm like, oh, amazing. Amazing. So when white guys get pushed in the back corner, they resort to crime, which again flies in the face of all that Christian bullshit that they throw up every time we get to talking about black people in poverty and crime. You know what I mean? Again, 9 meals away from anarchy. That's across the board. I don't care what your favorite color is. I don't care what your race is. You start reducing quality of life down to the bare minimum, and you will see crime. If people can't survive, live with some dignity, you will see crime. But white guys, they just run around thinking that they're all above that. No, they haven't. It hasn't gotten to that level yet. And maybe Chronic understands that a little bit more, because from my understanding, Chronic was out there hustling and selling weed and doing his thing. Hence the name of his whole channel. He's dabbled in marijuana. He's dabbled in the illegal. So if any white person understands that more than anybody else. But your average run of the mill, blue collar, red blooded American white guy, you guys are the fucking worst, man. You guys are the worst when it comes to understanding, that, you know, once the hierarchy of needs, like once certain shit is not met, once certain criteria is not met, oh, you're good. You better get ready, because there's going to be a whole bunch of carjackings and robberies and everything, just like you see now with the pandemic. They let the bottom fall out. Yes, I do blame that on liberals, because that didn't happen in a lot of these Republican states. But plus, even the whole thing, the mask mandate, I mean, that's just a perfect storm for any criminal. Like, oh, I get to wear a mask walking around. I remember when Roddy Rich was in the bodega and had his bandana over his face, like literally looking like a 90s gangster, like he was going to rob the store. But it's like, hey, it's cool now because it's COVID. I remember when he posted that shit right at the beginning of COVID, because everybody had to cover their face. And so now you got people walking around with hoodies looking like fucking Kenny from goddamn South Park and shit like that. Watch out for the Kennys. Because the Kennys, they're the Jack boys. They're the ones that's going to get you. But face all covered up. I mean, perfect storm. So you let the bottom fall out. People got their face all covered up. Hard to identify them. I love when they show these video clips, like, all you can see is the person's like literally like just above their cheeks and their eyes, and that's all you can see. Like, what type of description is that? And they'll zoom in with the camera, like that gives you any information other than race. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the dumbest shit ever. But again, now you're being told my bootstraps. I'm like, oh, my bootstraps. I'm like, oh, isn't that what they used to say to black folks all the time? Y'all need to pull yourselves up by the bootstraps. Now you got Dave Ramsey telling you all my bootstraps. Telling you all that you need to grit and bear it. Right? Telling you all, that you're not trying hard enough. Telling you all, oh, you don't want to get married, completely ignoring the whole, women only want to date the men that are making enough money to be marriage material. I don't even know what the fucking boomers are doing. It's like, don't you have daughters? I'm like, what brokey? I like that word now. What brokey are you gonna have out here dating your daughter? You want to talk about dudes working at fast food wage places, not being gainfully employed, but you got a daughter? Yeah, she's gonna be fucking 37 years old, living with your ass, and dudes are gonna be on the internet talking about, how she's past her prime and hit the wall and shit. That's what your ass is gonna be fucking dealing with. I mean, the insanity of it. You're not gonna have anybody for your sons to work with, and you're not gonna have anybody for your daughters to marry. I'm saying, and I want you to think about this. I mean, right? Like black people, we live underneath the system of white supremacy, right? Redlining, blockbusting, Jim Crow, all that shit, right? Eminent domain, urban renewal, convict leasing, debt peonage, all the shit we've been through, all the policies put in place to cripple the black community. And black men are mocked all over the place because they don't take care of their kids and this, that, and the third, and blah, 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 right? But notice it's due to the racism and being quote unquote in incapable of doing it, right? Because we don't have the resources, right? Black men are poor and they the face of poverty, and look at your communities and your shit's all fucked up and this, that, and the third. And here you got white men like Dave Ramsey who are at the top of the fucking food chain, right? And all these white boomers have essentially set nothing up for the next generation of white men. You tell me who's worse in that situation. The motherfucker who can't or the motherfucker who can but won't. You tell me who's been a worse daddy. White men who can but won't, or black men who can't but want to. Or I should say want to but can't. You tell me who's worse. All the fucking infinite resources that white men have at their disposal, and you got young white men out here who can't get their lives started. And the idea is somehow they're maintaining white supremacy. And even getting into the whole all this shit, like the okey doke that people fall for, white men fall for, it's because black lives. Well, we had to because we had to let feminists in the door. No, they don't want. They still don't want to pay you. All that shit does is give them a weak ass excuse. It's Black Lives Matter. Oh, it's because of feminism. Oh, it's because of the wokey woke left. That's why suddenly white men are not making. They weren't trying to pay white men in the 1880s, in the 1900s, in the 1920s, in the 1930s, and 1940s. They weren't trying to pay y'all shit since the beginning of fucking time. Like again, like y'all see, this is the whole problem with whiteness, because it makes y'all think that all of y'all are on the same page, and that it's white people versus the rest of the world, and that there's no class in the white community, and that the white elites are always looking out for you while they make you paranoid about the minorities that are coming for your shit and all this other stuff, when they're just trying to keep you at bay. They're doing whatever they got to do to keep you off of their back. It's like, oh, what's the flavor of the day? It's the niggers. Okay. What's the flavor next week? Oh, it's the Asians. What's the flavor next? Oh, it's the Syrian refugees. How about the following week? Oh, it's the Afghanis. Oh, what about after that? It's the Jews. See, like they just keep on going with that crap, and y'all eat it up. Y'all, this racism. It's delicious. Y'all eat that shit up, and at the end of the day, they still don't want to pay your bitch ass. They still don't want to pay you. They still over there talking about, why don't you want to work at McDonald's when you're 35 years old? See, there's jobs. There's 7 million jobs out here, and y'all don't want to work because y'all are lazy, just like those good-for-nothing black folks. That's what the problem is. In a minute, they're about to tell you all these white zillennials are breathing up the boomer air. In a minute, they're about to tell you that shit. See, well, that's what the problem is. The problem is all of our grandchildren are breathing up all our air. I mean, think about how fucking retarded that shit sounds. Retarded. And I don't know what's gonna happen, like when the boomers disappear, like when they die, like I mean, I guess you get to start your life at 40 and change, right? When they transfer all that wealth over to you, if there's any of it left. And that's another thing. Like I was talking to Cap about the shit, and he was talking about Ramsey. He was like, the stupid part is, he was like, look, he's like, I'm not gonna lie. He's like, in the late '80s, early '90s in Detroit, there were still some jobs left in the factory, and you had to get a referral to get in there. But he's like, I'd be lying if I didn't admit that there were a lot of young men that didn't want to work in the factory. They didn't want to do that type of work. Cap, on the other hand, if it wasn't for GM, if it wasn't for the way that they had their shit structured, he's like, essentially that is what got him out of poverty, was working at GM. You know what I mean? He was in the early '90s making about $95,000 with all the insane overtime that he was working. You know what I mean? He struggled to get that job, and when he finally got it, because remember his dad used to mock him. I bet you can't pull $100 out of your pocket. You know, and when he finally got that job, and this leads into a whole nother conversation about, even when it comes to black parents and black boomers, about how, like, you have black fathers out here that don't want their sons to surpass them because that's the only leverage of respect that they have on their sons. That's a whole nother discussion that we're going to do on another video, and talk about that shit about fathers. And I'm saying it's not just black men on that front, because I know a couple white guys that have the same situation where, they finally made it. They blew past their father, and their father will not come out to see them. You know what I mean? The motherfucker showed up one time. Oh, nice place that you got going on here. And I'm telling you, one of the primary reasons you'll get fathers that don't want to do that, not only the respect issue, but especially those that really know that they didn't have a strong hand in making you the man that you are, and yet you still not only got there, but you blew past them. Oh yeah, that brings a lot of shame when they step foot in a house that they know deep down inside that they don't have a fucking thing to do with. Oh, they feel majorly some type of way. But that's a whole nother, I need to make a separate video about that, but that's a whole nother conversation. But GM is what got Captain Solo out of poverty. Those type of kick-ass wages. But Cap has admitted everybody didn't want to work for that. But but your generation? He was like, no, all that was dead by the time you guys came of age, all that was dead anyway. He was like, so that cannot, he's like, I can say that about my generation, but I cannot say that about your generation, the millennials and the zillennials, because those opportunities simply do not exist anymore. That's why I got pissed off at that Kelvin goddamn bullshit ass 1990 freaking McDonald's video. Bitches pulling up in the drive-through. Kelvin got to walk. Kelvin's working at McDonald's, and the McDonald's commercial didn't even have sense enough to show how Kelvin came up through the ranks at McDonald's to the point that he didn't have to walk to work every day. Or at least show me his apartment. Show me where he's not living with his mom anymore. Show me something. No, they don't show you that. They just show Calvin's just a good little Negro he's just so happy to be there because, as white people like to say with their bullshit ass white Jesus and Christianity, working is good for the soul. Right? That one-way street bullshit. I don't know why. Like, it's like y'all are like white men are like they're like the ultimate slaves on the plantation. Like white men, in my opinion, like your average proletariat white man is like the house Negro. You know what I'm saying? Like they really believe in this whole like this idea of, oh, it's a meritocracy, and oh, if you just show up and you give them a firm handshake and stare them in the eye and work there for the next 2 years, and then they will recognize all of your diligence and hard work and you will be rewarded. Bullshit. And that's why you see guys making the videos like Undead Chronic. That's why you see that shit. Because they know that the dangling carrot is bullshit. They know that it's bullshit. They know the goal is again to buy more time to get people to work and enrich, the boomers, right? To enrich the wealthy. Meanwhile, you can't even fucking date. You can't even fucking date. Just like that other video where that guy was talking about if you're not making at least $25 an hour, like you're struggling. The cost of apartments and all that other shit. Mind you, that the damn boomer they want to lock their homes in. Oh, no, 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 no. We don't want any more single family homes. And then you got to deal with, JP Morgan buying up all the property. You got to deal with Blackstone buying up all the property, trying to turn everybody into fucking renters. And I think, and these people think, I'm like, you think that young white men, white entitled men especially, are going to be, and I don't mean entitled in the against liberals sort of way. No, I mean entitled just off of the strength of being white. Because like I said before, white men literally think that there is a floor that they're not supposed to, there's like a net that all the minorities somehow slip through, especially the black and the Hispanic. They slip through that. But that white men will be caught by this net, and they will never, because of whiteness alone, they will never fall, below that point. They really believe that shit. I don't even know how many movies they have to come up with highlighting, whether it's Snowpiercer, whether it's Elysium, whether it's what's the other movie? But that was more about taking out the minorities. But The Purge, you know, I don't know how many of these movies about class do they have to highlight. But y'all really don't want to understand. You don't want to get that. You still riding on the hope that no, 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 no. They're gonna lift us up out of this. They're not building homes, right? You could bring the property houses down if they started building more homes. I always see these 55 and up neighborhoods, right? They're brand new homes, but they're not massive. They're not big, but they're perfect size, right? Because they're supposed to only be an elderly couple in there, right? The kid, no grandkids, right? So you don't need a whole bunch of extra rooms. Probably got, you know, 3 bedrooms. Probably a 3 bedroom house, and they will build these nice neighborhoods, these like I don't even want to say it's like a 2-story home. It's kind of like there is an upstairs. There's a room that's upstairs, but it's like a rancher. But then there's like an area of the house that's upstairs because you can always see the window that's upstairs, right? But you can tell that like the house, the way the roof is angled, that it's not really a house that truly has a whole second floor. But I'm like, that is the perfect house for, couples, for people starting like the bungalow, right? The 3 bedroom bungalow. Like they don't make houses like that. Now it's like, oh, you must buy a house and it has to be $500,000. Like you got like they stay doing that shit. Right? Because and again, all this stuff with them turning everybody into, yeah, because they know they're not paying people shit. So why is the developer going to go out there and build, a freaking one of these, Toll Brothers type of homes and shit like that? Why are they going to go and do that if, they don't have people making, that type of money? And so now we're back to the whole aspect of it being a gig economy, and the only people making, serious money are making on social media, and so that's why, when you talk to kids now, you talk to some millennials in high school that are still in high school, they'll say, or is that Generation Y? Anyway, they'll say, yeah, I want to be an influencer, because not, yeah, I'm saying if I am going to work, I'm going to work for myself, right? And I'm going to, make obnoxious amounts of money like Marcus Brownlee on YouTube or some shit like that. I'm going to be rich. That's what they want to be. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, they like, I don't know what white supremacy is. I'm like, y'all killed the working man, and it really goes to show, if you really look at it, that all of that was an illusion. Like I said before, the middle class exploded post World War II. Europe was bombed to hell. Japan was bombed to hell. The whole rest of the world was largely undeveloped. And or not, a first world, or didn't have the capital. Middle East, South America, freaking China, right? They're up to speed now, but they weren't before. And they're so up to speed now that the US, and again, those, corporate boomers that don't want to pay anybody, they go over there, over to Shenzhen in China, and manufacture everything in Shenzhen. Or even now, Vietnam, because they're trying to get out of China because all the beef with Taiwan and shit like that. Which brings me to a whole nother point about the whole military industrial complex. And, we can't get soldiers. Yeah. What's funny is China and the US are going through the same shit. Good luck trying to find white men to die for their country when they can't even they don't even have anything to look for. They got no bitch and they got no property. And then when you go over to fucking China, they got their whole crisis where they built a whole bunch of homes, or excuse me, claimed that they were going to build homes, and people were paying mortgages for properties that weren't even built, right? Because they said, "Oh, we're going to build it. Don't worry. Just put down your deposit now and just start paying your mortgage, and eventually we will build it." And they just didn't. It was one big fat Ponzi scheme. So not only do you got the youth that are not able to, like, they got a whole another employment issue, right? With people working. Remember, they did that whole merger with the schools. They tried to merge the vocational schools with the universities, and the university kids, they went ballistic because, they had prestigious degrees, and they felt that the vocational degrees were going to bring the prestige of the school down, and they didn't want that, right? Because you know how the Chinese are about, basically their society is, if you ain't here, you ain't shit. You know what I mean? So nobody wants to not be shit. And the same thing applies in America. Nobody wants to not be shit. You ain't getting no pussy if you don't have. Women, again, going back to what Brooklyn said a long time ago, women are the currency. Yes, patriarchy uses women as the currency to keep men productive. Once you remove that, motherfuckers don't have shit. You took away relationships, you took away companionships, you took away sex, you took away the family, and then China got the audacity to sit there and say, we want to invade Taiwan. We need volunteers to invade Taiwan. Motherfuckers like, man, I ain't doing that shit. Fuck you and Taiwan. We don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I ain't got no bitch. I ain't got no family. I got no kids. I got no fucking property. And you want me to go sacrifice myself, to so that the old men can sit there and play mahjong and talk about how they were victorious. Like, fuck you. And the same thing applies in America. Yes, we must maintain our 800 bases around the world and maintain, oceanic supremacy with our naval, fleets and shit like that. And young men is sitting at home like, yeah, so I can go over there, and again, I come back, I got no house, I'm barely making it. Or worse, there is a war, there is a conflict, and then I come back in a wheelchair, or maimed, or with third-degree burns on my face, or some other shit. You know what I mean? And then again, like, to even ask the men that, because I'll give white men a little sliver, I'll give you a little tiny bit, but it's the same shit that was done to us. So, like, I take some of that shit back. But, like, yeah, over the last couple of years, have they shit on men across the board, not just white men? Abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely they have. Across the board. So y'all ain't special. You just catch hell because you're a member of the dominant society. And again, white supremacy has not atoned for the sins of the father. So, yeah, black folks are going to call you out on that shit. And I don't even know how the shit even happens at this point with all these discussions about reparations. Because if white boys are out here struggling this bit, like, they're not making it. And then here comes the black guy. Oh, I'm owed reparations. That white guy's like, you ain't talking to me. Shit, I ain't even got shit from the goddamn boomers, and you talking about I owe you? Fuck that shit. Like so it's a hot mess right now. It's a hot mess because in sort of a way, the white guy is right. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but when he does have advantages, he fucking grabs and runs with that shit. Because the ones that do have pathways through nepotism, the ones that do have pathways through you went to the right school and the fraternity and all those white male exclusive networks, yeah, you can use your white privilege to get over. Unlike Jamal, or as freaking Undead Chronic would say, what do you say, Tyronius or some shit like that. And that's another thing. People want to get into. Look, I already know that Undead Chronic is, what do you want to say? People want to say he's a racist white dude. Da 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 da. I don't even get into the bullshit. I take pop shots at white people every chance I fucking get. He does the same thing. Oh, she's chasing chocolate. He was ripping on just pearly things about, oh, she's dated black guys, so she's a mud shark and all this other bullshit. Like, what I mean? So I'm not at all surprised about that at all. What I mean? Like that. That's not what's we can talk about that discussion later. But again, the shit that we've been saying, and here you got a white man saying the shit. Oh yeah, I'm gonna highlight that. I'm gonna be like, see, told you. I can't resist saying we fucking told you so. We told you so. And that's why I said white men are their own worst enemies. We said this. They said they don't care about you. Classism comes before racism. Racism is a fucking smokescreen. But all you gotta do is go on YouTube and look at the comment sections with anything that has to do with black criminality, active self-protection, whatever the local news is of some crime. Nothing but white people in the comment section foaming at the mouth. Right, completely ignoring the historical context of, all those policies that, again, I don't have to go back to slavery. I'll go right back. I'll go right into, the 1950s, redlining, blockbusting, the freaking convict leasing, debt peonage, urban renewal, eminent domain, COINTELPRO, assassination of black leaders, even going back to the 1920s, the purging of black communities, running highways through black communities, right? All I got to do, I stick right there. Dumping of drugs in the black community with the Iran-Contras with Reagan. Please, we can go for days. 1994 crime bill. We can go for days. For days. On these sort of policies and discriminatory practices. And so they see black criminality. They want to ignore the context of all that shit. And they're like, oh, see, those niggas are just like that. And here you got Dave Ramsey saying, well, and y'all need to get out your mom's basement, and y'all just lazy, and y'all are weak men, and y'all don't want to get married because you're weak and you're cowards and you're this and that. And I'm like, I'm like telling y'all the same. It's the same fucking thing. It's the same thing. And then even going back a little bit, even talking about white supremacy, y'all want to say there's no such thing as white supremacy. It doesn't exist. Right? That's what y'all say. But yet, look at how the boomers essentially conspire to basically keep y'all poor. It's the same thing when you throw in race. It's a bunch of old white men sitting up there determining what your wealth, what your worth is. Determining whether you get in the door or not, whether you have access. You have to go through them in order to, get this model of stability that we've been sold about securing the, getting the skills, securing the job, and then, being able to provide for a family and being the patriarch. Right? That's what black men were unable to do because, again, white men like y'all had no issue as long as you stayed, a few notches above the niggas. As long as you stayed a few notches above them, y'all were happy. You know what I mean? Yeah, y'all black people, y'all go live over here. You can't live over here with us, where all the good brand new shit is, right? That we're able to afford because we make significantly more than you on the line, or just enough over you to where we can afford here, but you can't. You see, and it's just what it's always been about. It's always been about that, making your working class white men feel slightly above the niggas, just slightly above, but they're still the proletariat. You know what I mean? All that Wonder Years bullshit and everything else like that. Again, even going back to Candace Owens, I'm like, that cannot be maintained without, house buying wages and gainful employment, full medical and dental and all that other shit. You know what I mean? Homer Simpson worked at a nuclear power plant. We have no clue how much money he was making, but he was showcased as a buffoon. And yet and still, stay at home wife, 3 kids at home, raising 3 kids in the suburbs. Al Bundy worked at a shoe store. I mean, it's shit you look back at the shit and you're like, how in the fuck are you working at a shoe store? You don't own the shoe store. You're working at a shoe store, and you got a stay-at-home wife. You're living in the suburbs. You got bougie ass white neighbors. You're living in the suburbs and raising 2 teenage kids. Right? And again, could anybody working at a shoe store, right, off of shoe store wages, have a house in the suburbs, raise 2 kids, and have a stay-at-home wife? I think not. Not only I think not, I know not. Then, who else do we have? Oh, well, let's go the rich man route. Let's go to, I forget what his name is, but the father in Home Alone. Big ass house, suburbs of Chicago, flying 9 people to France for the holiday. How much were those plane tickets? And how much money do you got to be making to live in a house like that and do some shit like that? You see? And I was talking to some people about it, and they were like, yeah, because all that shit was a lie and it was a fantasy. No, it wasn't. No, it was not. Because I saw that shit growing up in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? I saw that shit growing up in the 90s. Oh, yeah, there were people who were definitely living. I didn't know what the fuck they did, but there were people, I assume they were doctors. Some of them might had a small business, lawyers, these sort of professionals, terminal degree professionals. That pretty much stays right where it is. That those type of lifestyles are terminal professional degrees. Whether it's somebody gets their MBA, somebody is a doctor, somebody is a lawyer, they're usually almost always going to maintain that level of the American dream. But once we get down to the Wonder Years, which is average, everyday, run-of-the-mill America, I would say, and I used to love the Wonder Years, man. When that song came on, man, I used to run to the TV, just like I used to run to the TV to see freaking Mr. Rogers and shit. When that shit, okay, there was like 3 shows I could think of that made me run to the TV. Mr. Rogers, Sesame Street, I didn't run to the TV. Mr. Rogers, I ran to the TV. Mr. Rogers used to calm me the fuck down. I used to be hyper as fuck. Mr. Rogers, won't you be my neighbor, right? I used to sit the fuck down. I'd be calm. Like, all of a sudden, he just soothed the fuck out of you, right? And then there was what did I just say? What was the other show? Yeah, Wonder Years. Right? That shit is running the TV on that shit. I don't know why I like that show, because that show was like kind of like more about, no, it wasn't about grown people, but I don't know. I like that show. There was something soothing about that show. And then, yes, the ultimate. No, there were 2 more. There were 2 more shows that I loved. Okay, it was X-Men. Right, that was my shit. And then I think this beat X-Men. I think this beat X-Men, and it was, hold on, let me think about how the theme song went. I remember. Dun, 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 cops. Right, that was my shit. Oh my God. Run to the TV. Run to the TV. Gotta see my fucking cops. Oh man, that was my shit. The intro was fire. The intro was fire. That was my shit. You know what I mean? So if you grew up on that, your childhood was awesome. Um, Transformers didn't really get into that. I liked it, but it was cool. G.I. Joe, I didn't really get into that. Didn't like it. It was cool. But yeah, Cops, X-Men, Wonder Years, Mr. Rogers. Yeah, that was my shit. But anyway, is there anything else I want to say about this? I don't think that there is. I think I laid it out. This is not about the wokey woke left. This is not about Black Lives Matter. This is not about your racist beliefs about minorities. This is not about feminism. This is about the simple fact that they do not want to pay people because they're trying to maximize profits and minimize expenses. And the number one way you do that is to reduce wages and then get y'all acclimated to those reduced wages. And then when y'all, when they think to themselves, oh, they're tolerating it. Oh yeah, let's have another round of reducing wages. Especially since we got rid of the unions. Since conservatives love to run around and talk about how unnecessary the unions are, and all they do is undermine capitalism and undermine free enterprise, and they can't pay those wages. Y'all got to really decide which way you want to go on this. Either you're pro family, pro wages for employees, or you're pro corporations, but you can't be both. You cannot be both. That trickle down economics is some bullshit. And they done gassed your heads up on that shit. Oh, let it trickle down. You know what I'm saying? All I can think is like, what is that? SWB? Rain down on me. Right? Or is that Total? I always get those groups mixed. I always get the three groups mixed up, to be honest. Escape, Total, and SWV. I don't know why. I don't get In Vogue, because I think In Vogue, they sang way better than all the rest. That's just my opinion. And mainly it was because of that Belly song. You know what I'm saying? Ha ha, steady, are you ready? What's going on? Right, that was my shit. I can't do that shit because now my throat is all dry and I'm all this yelling and talking and shit. But man, I just y'all white guys really fucking y'all. It's like you guys are so goddamn predictable. Like there's nothing new about you all that like makes us say, oh, white guys didn't see that coming. Like there's nothing about you all in terms of your behavior that surprises us. Like we already know we know the shit that triggers you. Like, and again, that video of that white woman that freaking Phil Scott posted. You know what I mean? She said the shit. And she's 100% right. Black people know, not only black people know the dynamics of society better than white folks do, but I'm saying black people, in order to survive the system of white supremacy, we have to know you and your culture and your patterns of thinking and everything. We have to know that. So we study you. Y'all don't study us. Y'all just throw up generic stereotypes and go, oh, see, when around blacks never relax. He didn't do nothing. Like y'all just come with some just see, this is what Colin Flattery was saying. This is what Jared Taylor was saying. Like dumb shit. But no, we know you. We know you. Oh yeah. You know what I mean? Y'all, there's black people right now that are making money off of you selling t-shirts that say, Donald Trump on them. Selling t-shirts to y'all that say, let's go Brandon. You know what I mean? And and y'all don't even know that shit. We know you. We know your thought process, your pathology. We know you. And that's why, I got to tell black men, I'm like, nah, don't Don't support them like that. Let them do the majority of the. Again, it's their people. You know what I mean? It's like when we talk about women. I'm like, nah, so women need to check other women about the shit. Cause we go in there, we gonna be accused of all type of shit. No. Y'all need to clean house. And I'm talking when I say that, I'm talking to the white men who know that again, you can't get around me with the fucking math. Try as you may, you're not gonna get around me with the math. Cause I know y'all love to try that shit. I'm like, you ain't getting around me with the math. I said money. I said money. I ain't say shit else. I said money. You can bring up all the bullshit that you want. It's all gonna come back down to the money. I'm like, yeah, what were we discussing again? Yeah, money. And what were they not trying to do again? Yeah, they weren't trying to pay you. That's where the conversation starts, and that's where the conversation ends. But until y'all can see that, y'all run around my patriotism, America, you know, land of the free. You want to throw up all these canned fucking bullshit. Y'all can see y'all still in the Trumpism era. Like y'all still drowning in that shit. I'm like, we talking about money, like the Second Amendment, wages, jobs. That should be a bipartisan issue, right? Even though I know that gun rights aren't a bipartisan issue, I'm saying I'd be the first one to tell liberals, I'm like, this is the right to defend yourself. This has nothing to do with the Republicans and the lobbies and the this, that, and the third. No, you got five. What is it? What do they say? That's the NRA has 5 million members, but you got like 100 million gun owners in this country. I'm like, yeah, you try to take their shit away. So that's a bipartisan issue, But um, when it comes to money and jobs, and that should be a bipartisan issue. But somehow, when it comes to white conservatives, they have this real twisted. They're like, I'm pro family, I'm pro community, I'm pro church, and that's the problem. We took God out of the schools and everything. It's funny. They'll bitch more about taking God out of the schools than taking fucking money out of their goddamn paychecks. How about taking gainful employment out of the factories? Or how about taking factories altogether out of the country? How about that shit being more important than taking God out of the schools? Y'all running around acting like people can survive off of Jesus alone, off of the Bible alone. That's why you don't see men in church, because men cannot exist, in perpetuity off of hope alone. That's women. Women can do that. Jesus is going, fine, bring me a man, right? They can sit up there and listen to that bullshit. But men are burdened with the responsibility of performance, or I shouldn't say it like that. Men are hit with the burden of responsibility. I should say it. Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah, we have the burden of producing. The burden, no, that's better. We have the burden of producing. You know what I mean? A man can't sit up in church and talk about, how, I'm waiting on Jesus to open up the factory. No, it ain't got nothing to do with Jesus. It has to do with the white guy, the old white guy, looking like the Dos Equis commercial, sitting behind the oak table, who's deciding, what's going to increase his profit margins, or, boardrooms of people deciding, what's in the best interest of the shareholders, not what's in the best interest of the community, the white community, not what's in the best interest of, if we shut this plant down, that all these families, this whole community will implode. Again, y'all need to watch that Cabela's video, man. That Cabela's video, that shit. I'm saying, who did the Cabela's video? I think it was, and I don't even like his bullshit. Tucker Carlson. I think he was the one that did the video on, Cabela's, and in this town in Colorado, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. Broke that shit all the way down. People enriching themselves. I don't give a fuck about your family. You know what I mean? And the church is not going to make up for, the fact that, whatever business that was hiring the majority of people in the community disappeared, and then all the ancillary businesses, the barbershop, the tailors, the restaurants, the diners, the bowling alley, the pool hall, the bars, everything. And it's like even I had this map of Detroit I was going to use in another video, and it's like you can see right in the map, right? All the you go to like 1960, all the cars were made in Detroit. Now, if you look at a map and you look at where many of the cars that are made in the U.S., many of them are made in Tennessee, in Kentucky, in Georgia, in Mississippi. They went south, they went rural, where the cost of living is less, where they can pay employees, they give them new cuts, because they promised the Detroiters a whole bunch of shit. You know what I mean? Pensions probably being the biggest component of that shit. And they were like, man, fuck that. We're going to go down here. We're going to go into Georgia. They know nothing. They're just happy to get a job. And we can crank out cars in the same way. And that's another thing. It's funny how if they bring in any other group to undermine white people, let's say white people in Detroit, if they brought in some black people, white people bitching. If they bring in some Mexicans, white people bitching, right? Whatever the job is, whatever. But if a corporation uses white people from another demographic area that are willing to work for less, which are the people that they used to call scabs when they would go in and break up the strikers and shit like that, no commotion. No commotion. You don't see any white Detroiters calling down, hey, you motherfuckers in Tennessee are taking our jobs. No, no. You motherfuckers in Memphis are taking our jobs. Like, no. You don't hear nothing like that. There's no commotion, no anger, no rage. Right? And I highly doubt they're thinking, well, at least it's going to white families in the South. I know that they're working for wages I would never work for, but I'm just glad that it went to other white folks. Oh, please. White supremacy ain't that goddamn strong. So, I mean, I can't express it any greater than this, and I doubt that anybody else was going to have as real of a conversation about this subject as I am. I'm so sick and tired of. That's why I try my best to stay independent. I try my best to avoid taking money from people and shit like that. Because once you start doing that, man, that's why people start tap dancing to a different tune and everything. Oh, yes, boss. Oh, what you need, boss? Oh, you need this video? Oh, yes, boss. Oh, let me tell you. Oh, see, the corporations, they the greatest thing since sliced bread. See, the problem is you folks out here, y'all too lazy. And that's the whole issue with the American people. You start sounding like Jesse Lee Peterson and shit. See, the problem is they took God out of the schools and that's and y'all are lazy. That's what the problem is. It's like they literally relocated the factory to, Vietnam. No. The problem is they took God out of the school. Them taking God out of the schools has nothing to do with the fact that the corporation 5 years ago made a decision to take their manufacturing over to China, or take their manufacturing down there in Mexico, or take their manufacturing over there in Windsor, Ontario, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it has nothing to do with that. Is that in Ontario? That's not in Ontario. Is it Ontario? Maybe it is. I don't know. Windsor. I know where Windsor is. I know it's just right across the water. But I'm like, taking God out of the schools don't have shit to do with the fact that they don't want to fucking pay you. What don't you understand about that? And God and white Jesus is not going to make them suddenly decide, like I said, the fucking Grinch's heart growing 3 times bigger than it is. And they're going to say, you know what? Oh, these Christians are suffering. Let us pay them more. You know what I'm saying? The religion, Christianity, all that. And I know y'all love you some Jesus. I know we about to celebrate freaking the winter solstice. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, Jesus' birthday. But, at the end of the day, Jesus ain't, as my man said, Jesus ain't pulling up. Jesus ain't at the board meeting. Jesus ain't at the negotiations, the union negotiations. Jesus ain't pulling up. And despite the fact that those same people in the room that are trying to figure out a way to decrease your wages, it will say that they're Christians too, and they take off for Christmas holiday just the same. Them being Christian has nothing to do with the fact that they're still trying to reduce your wages. They still are for the corporation and doing the job that they were paid to do, which is to make sure that you get paid less or not at all. Again, this is why I focus on humanity. That's why I don't subscribe to the religious shit, because the overwhelming vast majority of the problems that we have are man-made. And no amount of, well, what about Jesus? Sir, can I talk to you about the Lord? Like, corporations don't give a fuck about that. They don't care about that shit. They want to stay as a-religious as possible, unless it suits them, like Chick-fil-A or some shit like that. But y'all get all caught up in that shit. I mean, it's hilarious. Like, that revelation after listening to Candace Owens and Cornel West was I mean, that was just mwah. I'm like, so you're saying you're Christian, you're pro-family, like that's supposed to mean something. Like, you're now see, they have more good moral character. They're Christian and they're pro-family. That's what we want to hear as true Americans. Yeah. And then they'll turn right around and start talking about, well, you don't believe in unions and taxes. Fuck that shit. If you tax my business, I'd be the fuck out. I'm like, hey, but you just said that you were pro-family. Pro-family means gainful employment for men, right? Especially in the traditional Christian orientation of the father being the head of that requires that he makes more money than his wife. But yet, as soon as you start getting into that dollar amount, man, all of a sudden, it's capitalism, to the nth degree. I'm like, God damn. I mean, you can't even get any balance in that shit. Again, she said Starbucks. I didn't say Starbucks. That black lady on the street, in that video clip that I had addressing the whole McDonald's commercial with Kelvin, she said McDonald's. She could have said anything. She could have said the post office. She could have said, work for sanitation. There's jobs that you could get down at the state, be a corrections officer. I mean, she could have said anything. But she said, what they need to do is go down there and flip some burgers. I mean, even the way of saying that, like, just go flip some burgers. Like how condescending and disrespectful is that shit? And then people want to wonder why nobody wants to do it. You just flippantly throw it out there like, you need to go down there and just get a job. Just don't even want to describe it. It reminds me of that black woman that said, my daughter will be president and my son will be a good black man. Like, he didn't even get a title. Just to show you how much they think about you when they say, I'm telling you, yo, you should be putting hands on people when they say shit like that. Because they're telling you what they think about you. Anytime somebody throws up you need to just work some bullshit ass job, and it blows my mind hearing black women say it, because they'll be the first ones to talk about, and you black men should be fixing the community. How the fuck is a motherfucker going to fix the community on some goddamn McDonald's wages? They don't even think about what they're saying, because the goal is to get you to just do something so that you're not out here taking from all the other hardworking people and everything, right? That fell into the trap of the little bullshit. Now, I agree, you shouldn't be taking from other people that are working, especially those that are working, for scraps. But that's why, truth be told, you don't really see other poor people getting robbed like that. When you really look at it, no, guys are out here robbing people that look like they have. They out in LA snatching people for their Rolexes. They out here snatching people for their Range Rovers and their Lexuses and their Escalades and shit like that. That's what they're stealing. You know what I mean? Like even poor people don't want to rob from other poor people because they know they don't have shit. It's like, damn, if I'm gonna risk going to jail and getting arrested and charged and convicted and going through the court and all that shit, I might as well make it worth it, right? I mean, if you're gonna commit a crime, you might as well make it. It might be crime of the century, right? Like that's that. I want that shit in headlines and shit like that. You know what I mean? I want to be freaking rappelling from the rooftop and shit on some Mission Impossible shit. Just coming down and shit. Flipping through some lasers and shit, trying to steal the Mona Lisa. You know what I mean? Like, and replacing it with a replica. Stealing Tutankhamun's mask or some shit like that. On some Uncharted type shit. Yeah, I want crime of the century. If I'm gonna possibly spend the rest of my life in jail, it ain't gonna be over some bullshit. But anyway, man, I'm on my soapbox. I get how I get when I get tired. I just start rambling and shit. But I'm just a lot of you white guys in these comment sections, y'all disappoint. Not all of you. I gotta emphasize that because I can see the people that they know what time it is in Undead Chronic's freaking comment section, but because Undead Comic, like he just throws in the whole kitchen sink. Like it's like all of the left and Black Lives Matter and freaking the J people, he brings them up, or he throws in it's the feminism and the woke this and the woke. Yeah, all that shit is annoying, but that's not why they're not paying you. You know what I mean? They'll use that shit as a weak ass excuse. Oh, well, we got to pay women and we got to bring women in the workforce, and that's why your wages got reduced. Bullshit. They were reducing wages before. That's why they were trying to get children to work in it, because I don't have to pay a child as much as I have to pay an adult. Get the children to work in here. Again, you got to recognize what you did. Again, y'all white. You know what I mean? Like I can sit there and point out the savagery of white people, but y'all white, y'all know these people are in your family. You should know. You got firsthand knowledge. You should know how scrupulous motherfuckers are that are in your own family and who they, will and wouldn't pay and all this other shit, and they don't care about what goes on with the next man, which again is just insane to me. We used to make that joke about in the black community, black men, not helping out other black men. He said, oh, man, that motherfucker, man, oh shit. Look, like a black guy gets taken out right in front of another black guy. Oh, well, I guess another one bit the dust. What do you mean another one bit the dust? Motherfucker, that's one less motherfucker to work with. What are you talking about? What do you mean another one bit the dust? But to my surprise, white men are doing the exact same thing. A white man falls off and they're like, oh, another one bit the dust. So what if he's not gainfully employed? I'm like, wow. I get, but y'all maintaining white supremacy. And I wish black people were in a better position, because if we were in a better position, I'd be like, charge, their defenses are down, charge, right? If we were in a better position, but we're not, because the shit they're doing. I'm like, is this how you doing white supremacy? Because I'm just saying, if I was gonna do black supremacy, it wouldn't. I definitely can't use y'all shit as the model. Fucking cutting off your own goddamn kids. If a motherfucker be old as Methuselah and shit, I'm taking my money with me to the grave. Ain't nobody gonna eat off of me. I mean, we used to fucking joke about that shit. White men are the ultimate. Ain't nobody gonna eat off of me. The ultimate. You have the resources. You have the ability. Even if they say, okay, I'm gonna pay my workers more money and everything, like they have a lifetime of achievement. It's not going to fucking destroy them. Their lifestyle is not going to go it's like what Andrew Tate said. Like once you get past a certain point, it's there. It's like water. When you don't have it, yes, that's all you can think about. But when you have it, it's like, okay. I can fill up a pool. I can do slip and slide. Whatever. I got water. I got plenty of water. You know what I mean? But even they're like, nope. They're up there like a Morton Joe and shit. You know what I'm saying? Do not become addicted to water, right? Because you will regret it. You will resent it in its absence, right? When he turned the water on and then turn it off. Like, that's fucking bloomers, man. I'm like, God damn. You know what I mean? Where you watch that shit in Fury Road. It's in Fury Road, right at the beginning. See, just type in Fury Road. It'll come up. You'll see it. Morton Joe just up there. I mean, that shit is just, it's insane to me. But anyway, I'm done. That's my video. SWP out.